So I'll ask you just one final question. Can the P320 fire on its own, and why not?
I think the P320 is involved in a battle between reality and perception.
You know, and even for me, just being blatantly honest with you, I was like, ooh, right?
When they see something like this, the first thing they think is, okay, what's wrong with the gun?
Yes.
And the first thing we think of is, okay, what made that trigger move to the rear?
Then there's what I call the anti-gun side, right? Mm-hmm. This is perfect for them.
That 1 month for this story to come out and for this gun to get recertified as safe was incredibly detrimental for the 320. This is what we've had to deal with.
If you, as a two-way platform and channel, cannot have a gun company on a two-way gun channel platform to have a conversation about gun. This episode of the Colion Noir Podcast is brought to you by Vetter Holsters. Welcome to another episode of Colion. Welcome to another episode. Well, this podcast is making me nervous.
Well, I'm an intimidating fella.
Welcome to another episode of Colion Noir Podcast. And joining me today is SIG in all his glory.
Oh, is that my name now?
Okay. All right. Phil from SIG.
Yes.
Phil from
I'm
SIG.
Phil
Right.
from SIG. How you doing, bud?
I'm good.
Good to be here.
How are you doing?
It's been a long time. I'm good. I'm staying pretty busy, as you can imagine.
No.
But, yeah. But it's good. It's good. So I said, busy. When you're busy, it means you've got job security.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's always a gift and a curse, right? It's like you're busy and you're like, oh, God, I'm so busy. And then when you're not busy, you're like, oh, my God, I'm not busy.
Give me some work, please.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, so
what could we possibly talk about today?
Let's talk about this new 2011 you got.
It's pretty sweet.
I mean,
have you gotten one yet?
No, I haven't yet. No, I haven't got my hands on it though. But visually, I can say that it looks like a
So let me talk
beast.
to a guy. I'll talk to a guy.
Fair enough.
We got to get you one to test.
Or two to test.
To test, right? To test. Yeah, you got to send it back, man. This isn't
You're not getting
393.
shit back.
Yeah, P211 GTO. That's
a very fitting name. Visually, it works with the actual name.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it does.
Well, it's a cool car. It's a cool gun. It's
so it's inspired by the GTO.
I think that was the initial. That was actually the initial intent from the name, and that we had logos kind of done up that were cool logos that are are automotively based, but I think we kind of moved away from that. But the O obviously stands for open because it's compensated. So it gives us some places to go if we wanted to do a different gun with a different feature. We could change some of the lettering. So this obviously, this like every gun we do, we're going to expand the lineup into where we think the market will accept. I mean, this is what you would call a higher end model of the 211. It's steel. It's compensated. It has all the goodies. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we do with it next.
So and I know everybody's all like, get to the P320 already. We will.
We will.
But
no shortage of content there. How much time you got?
So with okay, we're I won't go so far as to say we're awash with 2011s on the market, right? But they've definitely made a resurgence.
Yes.
Right. And so in a weird way, 2011s can be. Like they're all inherently, just the inherent structure of them inherently lend themselves to being beautiful. Like they just have the silhouette and the profile there. It's kind of hard to fuck up a 2011, generally speaking, right?
It is.
But I will say it's also kind of hard. Yeah, I know. But I will say it's also kind of hard to distinguish yourself in the 2011 space,
right? From
the standpoint of like without it just feeling like another 2011.
True.
So when y'all kind of went into this project, like was that something that was at the forethought of it, or was it kind of we're just going to do SIG the way SIG does SIG?
No, I think to your point, it is easy to make a 2011. However, 2011 buyers are typically boutique buyers. Now I have 9 of them. Yeah. I used to shoot an STI before it was called Staccato.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with these guns. I'm very intimately familiar with how they work and what it takes to turn a bone stock Staccato into the ones that you see in competition. Yeah. Not always the same gun. So there are some, they're never, how can you say this without being ugly? They're never expected to be what you would call combat ready, I guess you could say. A gun that you can just run through the mill and shoot 25,000 rounds out of it with no issues. However, we wanted to be able to do something that held up to our test standards. And regardless of what the internet thinks, our test standards are pretty rigorous. There is obviously there's an endurance factor where the gun has to last a certain amount of rounds. There's also a mean rounds between stoppages where it has to have a certain malfunction rate that's acceptable for us. Usually 1 in 1,000 is a floor. Okay. So we wanted to make sure the guns were very reliable with many different types of ammo. Obviously, there was a rough handling spec, so we drop our pistols at a higher than NATO standard at 20 more orientations than anyone else. So this gun also had to survive that as well. So there were certain features we couldn't do without. Yeah. Certain series features we had to put in there, to make sure the firing pin was blocked and would not go forward under a nose down drop. So there's a lot of things we had to do, but we wanted to keep the essence of a 2011, the elegance of it, the way it felt, the way it shot. We wanted it to shoot better. Yeah. We added this new compensator.
Which is a tall order because inherently I think 2011s tend to shoot really good.
They do. And you can tune them to always shoot a little bit better. Yeah. So we kind of pre-tuned it. We built this compensator, a 3D printed compensator, and it works really well. So couldn't be happier with how it turns out. And of course, it uses P320 magazines. That's a big one, and that obviously enhanced the reliability of a 9mm 2011. Yeah. There are a lot of, like to your point, there are a lot of 2011s out there, but I think the 2011 market is similar to many other specific handgun markets. A lot of people don't only have one striker fired pistol. Yeah, a lot of people don't only have one 1911. So 2011 crowds is kind of the same way. I know a lot of people who have
a bunch of
different types of 2011. So
I know I'm like that. I can find, like, to a layman person who is not really into, it's not their thing. They just look all the same. They're kind of like
ARs.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I can look at one AR and then look at another AR and say, "Ooh, I really like that one." I'm like, "Oh, they look the fucking same." But
we know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have so many ARs. They're all different makes and models, different types, but there's always something different with them.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with this gun. It feels different. It shoots different on them. I really am a big fan of it. I really want to shoot one at PCSL Two Gun Nationals next month. I'm not. I'm going to shoot a 320.
Okay.
And I don't want to show up to a match not shooting a 320 because then the internet will explode. Phil Strader's not using a 320. What does that tell you? Even he says.
It's interesting that's something that you have to think about. You have to consider, right? Because it's like, it's an optics game in a lot of ways too, right? Even though it's like, I really want to just shoot this 2011. Yeah. You can't, which it is.
I could, but I choose not to because of the optics.
Gotcha.
It's just, it doesn't. I don't need to feed the internet any more than it's already being fed by its own. It's feeding itself. Why even kind of add to it? So
now I will say this: it's in a lot of ways. So I'm gonna put my layman.
That was my 320
segue. That was beautiful. Actually, we're gonna switch spots here in a second. Yeah. All right. So I've got to give a quick shout out to Vetter Holsters. They're now sponsoring the podcast. I've been using their light tuck Kydex inside the waistband holster, and what I really like is how adjustable it is. You can tweak the ride height and cant to get it exactly how you want. Plus, they've got holsters for over 450 gun models in 75 different colors, so you can pretty much find whatever you need. But here's the thing that really sets them apart: their customer service. I've heard so many stories about how they've gone above and beyond to make sure you're happy with your holster. And with a lifetime warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's clear they stand behind their products. If you're in the market for a great holster, check them out at betterholsters.com. And just putting on my layman's hat standpoint, right? Because Colion Noir at the beginning of his journey, and Colion Noir where he is now, I'm a lot closer to the industry than I ever was before, right? So sometimes it could be easy for me to kind of get lost in I know too much now, right? And so I know when people don't know what the fuck they're talking about certain things. Right. But then I also have to flip back and I'm like, well, they don't know. Right. So when you hear gun goes off on its own, right? And then it takes off, right? And then you get certain videos and certain things that look like this and look like that, and even for me, just being blatantly honest with you, I was like, ooh, right? Because it wasn't like you and I were like having late night conversations about what was going on with the P320. We honestly hadn't even talked about it till Like what? Like a month or two ago?
Even if that,
Yeah. So
it was right after. It was about a month after the Air Force.
Yes. Yeah. Actually. Yep. And so I understand why people have the reservations they have about the P320, largely because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right. And so, but I've also understood over my time period doing what I do, I try to be as balanced and fair as possibly can, except when I'm talking about anti-gunners. Fuck them.
Right.
So, that's
funny. That parallels with the story we're going to tell.
And I am very, admittedly, and this is more me talking to the audience who's about to watch this, I'm very protective of the industry. Largely because I know how important the industry is. At the same time, I'm also very protective of my audience. And so at the same time, I have a dual job here that I'm going to.
Of course.
So what I wanted to do is give you a platform to talk about the P320 from you guys' side of the table, because there's been a lot from the other side, right?
Yeah.
And I've been a part of that. So I wanted to kind of come here and say, all right, let's have that conversation. And what is that?
Well, I think the P320 is involved in a battle between reality and perception.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't sit here and demonize people who go and look for a restaurant and only look at the 1-star reviews, right? It's human nature.
Yeah, I kind of do that a little bit too. Yeah.
We all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it. But to a degree, at some point, you gotta be able to get past the BS, mm-hmm. right? Now, look, for us, to your point, we've seen the puppet show. We've been to the puppet show. We've seen the strings. We kind of know how guns work, how they're tested. I mean, we have a large number of engineers in our company.
Yeah.
So we know what's possible and what's not possible. From a mechanic standpoint, we just know. To your point, many people don't know. So when people from the outside of our industry, or people who haven't been there and seen the strings, when they see something like this, the first thing they think is, okay, what's wrong with the gun?
Yes.
And the first thing we think of is, okay, what made that trigger move to the rear, right? That's mm-hmm. what we're looking for. And for us to be able to go straight to that level of investigation, I guess
you're like me with the word choreography.
Yeah, investigatory analysis. For us to go straight there, there is a level of, well, who does SIG think they are?
Yeah.
Well, we know we've done all this stuff, all these tests and all this rough handling and things that people are trying to do online, and I get it. Trust me when I tell you, we've done it. And if we haven't done it, the military's done it. And if they haven't done it, third-party testers have done it. And of course, we have all the internet testing going on. Mm-hmm. I don't call it testing. I call it experimentation going on. Mm-hmm. But we know exactly what to look for. And unfortunately, that gets perceived as, SIG's trying to hide something, or SIG is, their big, ugly company, SIG is, mm-hmm. is burying their heads in the sand, or they're a big one is they're gaslighting. And all we're trying to do is, we're just trying to show people, like when I go to Rangers a lot, we're just trying to talk to them about the entire argument. Okay, yeah, we know you've heard this. We know you've heard that there are claims that the P320 fires without a trigger pull. But mm-hmm. did you know this? That, yes, perfect example. We use, did you know that a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys and law firms that are defending plaintiffs who sue us, initially they started off with the argument of the 320 is defective because it fires without a trigger pull. Okay. Well, obviously, it's court of law. Even in civil court, you have to have some sort of evidence, some kind of mm-hmm. hard evidence that this happens. Yeah. So, of course, they do what we do. They hire engineers and weapons experts, and they put them in a place to where, okay, we need you to be able to replicate that this gun can fire without a trigger pull. And they pay them money to try to figure out if this can happen. And they haven't been able to. They've been unable to make the 320 fire without a trigger pull. They've been unable to replicate it. So that's not a viable argument, which is why a lot of these cases have been getting dismissed. So I tell people that, well, so if anyone could prove that the gun was firing without a trigger pull, wouldn't it be, because the internet says we pay off all the other third-party testing, and we're an evil company. We can't pay off the plaintiff's attorneys experts, because they're the ones that are suing us. Yeah, they're the third-party testers. They're also doing it. So they've proven they can't. That they've shown that they can't do it. So now the argument has changed from the P320 is defective because it fires without a trigger pull. That argument can't be really
So
it can't be supported anymore, but the argument's changed.
So just so people can understand who are watching, so what you're saying is the initial argument was that P320 can fire on its own.
Correct, without a trigger pull.
Okay, and that was the initial argument from the plaintiff's attorneys, basically the people who were suing you guys, saying that it can go off on its own. And so now there are subsequent. Are we saying now that there were subsequent attempts at suing you guys, but now they're making a different argument?
There have been, yes. There have been it's been a change of direction.
Okay.
Now, are there still claims out there that the gun fired rather trigger pull? Yeah, there are. But I mean, obviously, we're going to fight those in court the same way we fought the other ones. But now the argument has changed, and now there's an argument that some of these law firms are arguing that the P320 is defective because it has a certain trigger weight, a certain trigger movement, and it doesn't have a safety on the pistol, whether it be
like a manual safety,
like a tab trigger, or some
Okay.
says a manual safety, some are saying a tab trigger, but they're basically, and that's the argument, is your trigger has this much weight and this much movement, and because of that, you don't have this tab trigger. Where we say, well, we don't need one. We pass drop at 6 feet at 26 orientations. The others don't if they don't have that tab trigger, so we don't need it. But it doesn't matter. That's their argument is, well, because of this trigger pull, this trigger weight, you don't have a tab trigger, so your gun's defective. And a jury doesn't. I mean, they don't know about guns, so
that's what I was going to ask you next. So for the people that understand, what does exactly does that tab trigger do for a gun that does have that tab trigger on there?
Well, and I can tell you that from a design perspective, obviously, without a tab trigger on a pistol like very popular striker fired pistols, that tab is designed to prevent the rearward movement of the trigger unless your finger is on the trigger and pulling. That's how it's designed. So when the 320 came out, when the 320 was designed, obviously coming out with a striker fired pistol without a tab trigger was pretty innovative.
Yeah,
especially with a trigger that's
because everybody's so used to it,
or 7-8 pounds. Yeah. Or 5 to 6.5, whatever, 6.5, 7 pounds, right in that.
You're talking about the New York versions,
not the New York triggers. Oh, that's a good point. We can talk about that later if you want. So obviously, when we designed the 320, the thing first, we were like, okay, we got to make sure this thing passes the drop standard. Yeah. So we went to the highest one. There's a SAMI standard, which is like 4 feet on a rubber mat at 6 orientations. NATO's at 5 feet on concrete, bare concrete at 6 orientations. So we dropped to the NATO spec on the original 320. And then we added 6 more orientations just to be safe. Yeah. And then it's okay, that's the standard, so we're good. We're solid. We're dialed in. And in 2014, that gun was launched. And of course, everyone knows in 2017, we were introduced to a different drop angle at a different height outside of these specifications, outside of Army specs, outside of NATO specs, that there was a vulnerability in the system. We verified that. And when we found out there was a vulnerability in the system, we started getting right on it. We started putting our engineers on this, and okay, let's figure out why this is happening. Let's figure out a way to design around it. And in a matter of about 6 months, we had a design, we had parts tooled up, we had a return policy already set up to where we were prepared to return 300,000 ish guns, and have them all upgraded. Now we told the people is that, hey, your gun passes your gun actually exceeds NATO's testing. However, there's a vulnerability. If you feel like you want to get to a higher standard, 6 feet at 26 orientations, bring it in, send it in. And so we figured all that out in 6 months, and we implemented a change. So I bring that up because everyone's saying, well, SIG Sauer, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to change. They don't care about their customers. Well, this is a perfect example of us caring about our customers, making a change. We saw vulnerability, we confirmed it, and we did something about it. And now everyone's saying, well, the guns fire without a trigger pull. The guns do this. The gun does that. We're trying to verify this, right? We're not just burying our heads in the sand and saying, no, it doesn't. Yeah. And then pouting in the corner. We're actually trying to replicate a lot of these situations, much like our adversaries are. And we have been proven unsuccessful, just like they have. So the question is when are you going to fix the 320? And our response has to be, well, what are we fixing? You want us to fix a gun that only fires when the trigger's pulled? Now, if you put and no one wants to talk about, everyone's, they talk about the holster thing. You see some videos. There's some videos out there that are like, whoa, what is going on here? and we are I am intimately familiar with these videos. And again, when we see those, we say, okay, what in the world happened here? What got to this gun? What made this trigger pull? Now, obviously, if it's a situation where a police officer is sometimes getting out of a car, first thing we look at is he left-handed? If he's a driver, which they usually are. Yeah. Did the gun have a flashlight on it, and was it in a duty holster with a wide opening about this wide, actually, for a trigger guard about this wide? And so if those things are consistently present, that gives us at least somewhere to go to figure out what's going on. I mean, there's a reason Dodge has a bulletin that has a little seatbelt clip that holds the metal seatbelt up out of the way of the holster when you take your seatbelt off. There's a reason that there are holster bulletins out there warning of things getting in the holsters, foreign objects getting into holsters, possibly pulling the trigger. Weird thing is these notices were put out in like 2005. And I'm not a math wizard or anything, but that's 9 years before the 320 came out. So either this company is, able to look into the future 10 years, or they knew there was an issue. And I look at it as this, and people look at it. Your audience will comment to say, this guy's blaming the lights, he's blaming the holsters, he's blaming everything except the gun, and that's actually not true. What I'm blaming is a system vulnerability that's either not known about or being ignored. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was a cop longer ago than I will admit to your audience. But back in those days, we carried a 5906, right? A Smith & Wesson, very popular pistol in law enforcement. That pistol had a feature on it it was a mag disconnect. And if the mag popped out of the gun, the trigger would be dead. Even if you had a round in the chamber, the safety was off, none of that mattered. Okay, mag disconnect. So especially left-handed officers, we would always tell them, when you get up out of a chair, when you get doing anything that could hit your gun, always just push the magazine in, because this is a system vulnerability. If you're carrying around a gun without a magazine in it, pretty much, it's a paperweight. Yeah. So every now and then you see cops at our department just pushing their mags in every now and then. What are they doing? Well, here's why. So it was a system vulnerability that we knew about, okay, and that we were told about, and we were made aware of that, and we knew things to do to prevent this from being a problem. Now there's a new vulnerability for systems, firearm systems, striker-fired pistols, not just the 320, but striker-fired pistols are pistols that don't require a very long trigger pull, and they're anywhere from 5 pounds to like 6 or 8, depending on what gun you're carrying, right? So it doesn't require a lot of trigger movement. It doesn't require a lot of force. And now you're going to attach a flashlight that's an inch wider than the actual firearm and put it in a holster that may very well have gaps in the holster that can be subject to foreign objects, people's fingers, keys, whatever. Clothing happens a lot, sometimes without a light. But the point is it's a system vulnerability that, as a police officer and as a firearms training, as I was also a firearms instructor, my police department, we didn't issue flashlights. This was, again, a long time ago. I'm sure they probably do now, and I'm hoping that our firearms training unit that I used to work for is warning, hey, if you're going to carry a striker-fired pistol, in our case it was a Glock 22, if you're going to carry this pistol with a flashlight, in this case an X300, in this holster, in their case a Safariland something or other, this is a possible system vulnerability. If you know that, then I probably will be less likely to carry keys on that area of my body, right? I'm very likely to be aware that if someone grabs my gun in the holster and they're a smaller person or a woman's hands or small fingers, there's a possibility their finger could get into the holster. It's possible. Is it likely? No, but it happens. I mean, there are, you have to search for them, especially if it's not a 320, but there are reports out there that show you can see video footage on-camera footage of fingers getting into guns and pulling the trigger. So it's while they're in the holster. So the point is, and I know this is a long diatribe for, the 320, but I think a lot of people are kind of ignoring this vulnerability. They're seeing these videos and they're saying, well, I know a guy whose gun went off in the holster. Now, if it's legitimately in the holster, that's obviously a lot different than someone who's holstering
at the same time,
and the gun's going into the holster while the gun's going off. Yeah. So there's, to your point, there's a lot of eyes on the 320. I think that the popularity of the gun being carried more and more by people, especially law enforcement, more and more, obviously, law enforcement officers are carrying the guns out in the open in these types of holsters, and most of the time they're putting lights on them. That seems to be pretty popular right now. That the more that are out there, obviously, there's going to be more opportunities for this vulnerability to be exploited. And we have. I mean, I think we have a reported. I think of the firearms we've made, the 320s. I mean, and there's close to 4 million of them out there. The reports we have of guns being fired unintentionally, accidentally, uncommanded, whatever the word you want to throw in there, negligently, the numbers are small. They're in the 300 to 400 range. Okay. And you brought up NYPD. What's really interesting is in 1994 they started getting issued Glocks with a 12-pound trigger. I think they call it the NY1.
Yeah, trigger. It was like something like that. Yeah.
12 pounds, right? They went from a double action pistol to a striker fired pistol. That's another thing you have to think about. A lot of people who are going to SIGs, they're not going from a Glock to the SIG all the time. A lot of times they're going from a 226 to a short striker fired action. There's a learning curve there. Just like NYPD experienced in 1994, going from revolvers or 5906s to a Glock. And there were a rash of negligent, unintentional, accidental, uncommanded, blah, 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 whatever. The guns going off when the officers didn't want them to. That happened a lot. From 94 to 95 to 96. So in 1997, NYPD started putting out a use of force report every year that covered all discharges, including
negligent,
accidental discharges. Gotcha. They called them accidental discharges in the report. From 97 to 2023, that doesn't include the first 3 years, the Glock leg years, as I call them, 544 within 30,000 police officers in one department. So, and I don't want this to turn into us versus them conversation. I'm not trying to do that, but it gives you some perspective that there were more unintentional discharges in an 18-year period, or 23 year, I can't count, but in a 2-decade-ish time period in one police department than we've had in 10 years among 4 million 320s. So I would like that number to be 0, obviously. Yeah. I mean, that's ideally. But as long as God makes us with one of these things and we keep putting pistols with those little weird, little dangly triggery thingies on it, people are always it's always going to happen. There's no way around that.
So let me ask this question. I was aware of...
That was a long answer.
Yeah.
Longest answer in history.
I was aware of the negligent discharges that were happening with Glocks during that time period with police officers and whatnot.
My department, too. So,
and not to the explicit detail, but I was aware of them, right? However, what do you think? What do you factor is the reason why SIG is getting so much more heat over it now versus, say, Glock then?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think
I have my theories, but we're not here about me.
Well, okay. The theories are, and this would be just a theory. This is obviously not something I would hang my hat on. And for all those possible plaintiffs' attorneys out there watching today, don't hold this one against me. But I think that it's because there's more and more SIG P320s being used out there. I mean, after the military award, after the M17 M18 award, obviously, when you win a large military award like that, there are residual benefits. Okay, no one knew what a Beretta 92 was until the M9 won the military contract. The 320, no one had even cared about the P320 until, oddly enough, 2017 when we won this military contract, and all of a sudden everyone cared about the 320 because their gun didn't win, or their favorite gun didn't win, or whatever the case may be. That brought a lot of spotlight on the gun, right? And that's fine. It's normal. We win any contract we win. There's always a protest period. There's always companies that didn't think they got shafted, which is fine. But after that award, there was a lot of attention on the P320, a lot of eyeballs on the 320. But there was also a lot of adopters of the 320. A lot of police departments started carrying it. A lot of people transitioned from a double action pistol to a different striker gun than an M&P and a Glock. There was another option. There's another option out there. So a market that 2 guns held 90%. I'm just making these terms up. He says, don't quote me on this stuff. But let's just say 2 companies, Smith & Wesson and Glock, that had a majority of the law enforcement market. All of a sudden, there was another player in the mix. So I think more and more people used it. I think, and at the time, especially around 2017 with the whole drop thing going on, that kind of gave a little bit of momentum to the people who just don't like us. And here's why I don't like them. And they sold the military faulty guns and this and that. A lot of that kind of just started to snowball. Mm-hmm. And then when people, organizations started to realize that, oh gosh, we can actually blame the gun for a lot of the stuff that's happening. And maybe get some traction on it. All you need is a couple wins or a couple settlements under your belt, right? And then it's just a snowball effect. Mm-hmm. So now, is it coincidence that all of a sudden every police officer that's injured in a self-inflicted gunshot wound, all of a sudden now is, oh yeah, maybe it wasn't me, maybe it was the gun. It's. I'm sure there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there to what's happening. I will be politically correct and say I think the 320 is being used more now than it ever has been. Mm-hmm. I think with more guns out there, more users out there, there's statistically going to be more mistakes made, more unintentional discharges made. Believe it or not, people do have unintentional discharges with the P365. It happens. Yes. We had one happen in at the SEC when I was actually running the place. I can't remember exactly when, so this can't be. If I get deposed on this later, I don't remember the date, but it happens. Yeah. And I've seen it happen with I've seen it happen with 5906s that weren't decocked before they went to the holster. Mm-hmm. I've seen it happen with Glocks. I've seen it happen. If you're on the range long enough, you'll see people make mistakes with firearms, and it happens.
And it's blink of an eye.
So fast. Yeah. And typically you'll see, his hand wasn't even touching the gun. And I thought, okay, well, let's think of the mechanics of this. The big one was Achilles heel tactical. That got so much press. This video that showed nothing. It was a gunshot that went off, and the video panned over, and there was a guy standing there like this.
Oh, you're talking about when they were in a firing line at the training range? Yeah.
Is that effing 320 video? Yeah, it was a great one. Man, it was ridiculous. So the guy was standing there like this, and they said, well, his hand wasn't on the gun when it went off. I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm thinking of the physical part of that. Like if you're a person and your hand's on your gun and it goes off in the holster because who knows what you're doing with it. Yeah. You don't just keep your hand on it. Oh, that was weird. You go. It's just instinctual. Your body does this. So the only way someone's going to be able to say his hand wasn't touching the gun is if they were just staring there, watching it while it happened. Like I know he's teaching right over there, but I'm going to keep my eyes on that holstered 320 so I can just wait. It doesn't happen that way. And there's a few other things. I know that pistol was in a non-suitable holster. It was in a holster that was actually built to lock on the flashlight, and it had a incompatible flashlight with it. Gotcha. A lot of people don't know that. Okay.
I didn't know that either.
Most people don't. Okay. Most people don't care because they just say I'm making this up. But I've got the picture of the gun in the holster, and it was not a stock 320X5 like the initial reports were. So, just another example of words getting out. And as you mentioned in a podcast I watched earlier, which I really liked, by the way, about, gosh, you hate to say lies because then people accuse you of calling them a liar. But let's say embellishments of stories become fact, and that fact turns into, you said, policy or sometimes legislation. And it's a slippery slope that we're on. And what people don't seem to understand is when you take that position, well, there's smoke, there's fire position, and you start to run down that road, what you're doing is you're empowering the other side of this argument. You're empowering these anti-two-way establishments that are pushing this agenda of attacking gun companies, whether it be through policy, legislation, law firms, California, New Jersey. I mean, you got to be able. People have to be able to see what's happening here.
I think the thing about it is this. I think where you're getting a kind of perfect clusterfuck in a lot of ways, right? Because you have individuals who...
I can't say that in court. Yeah, but I'll try it. We'll see what happens.
Try it. You might be surprised how far you can get. There are some people who are legitimately like, I don't know. I have information here saying this. I have information here saying that. And they're trying to make a decision. And that's kind of what my goal is for me with this podcast, is to provide, okay, this is SIG perspective, and you get that information. Then there's I want drama. I get off on the drama. Give me more drama. Right? So anything that is a self-validating piece of evidence that I can utilize to point out that this is the issue, that it is the gun, because right now I can't think of anything big drama related than saying this gun goes off on its own. Right. And so they'll push that, right? Yeah. And maybe they may only do a cursory or surface level investigation about the story, but since it's almost kind of like, I won't say self-fulfilling prophecy, but it confirms what they've already suspected, right? So they'll push that out there.
They want it to be real.
Exactly. And because of the drama, because there's this level of just inherent emotional gratification that comes from that within the community as a whole. I've seen it to the umpteenth degree. Then there's the other side, and that's the other side that lives outside of. Well, actually, no. There's another side that's like, I bought a P320. It's never happened to me. I love SIG. Nothing you're gonna tell me that's gonna make me hate SIG, right? They're like,
well, that's the worst. That's the other part of the spectrum.
Yeah,
that's not great either.
Right. And then the fourth, and this is me not putting words in your mouth. This is my perspective from me sitting back and watching all this play out. Then there's what I call the anti-gun side, right? Mm-hmm. This is perfect for them. And I noted it when it first kind of started happening, because I do videos, for instance, on Plaka, right? And ironically, anybody who they're honestly kind of exposing themselves. I just wish the other side, that audience, could see it, because with Plaka, with people who don't understand what Plaka is the fact that you can't sue a gun manufacturer simply because their gun was used in a crime. Right. And I've done countless videos on it, and those are videos that actually don't do the most numbers, and it bothers me, because I'm like, y'all don't understand how dangerous this is. I'm like, it's very dangerous. Yeah. And so, but then the other side will say, when he was president, Joe Biden said it all the time. All these anti-gun organizations say it all the time. There was like, the gun community has no liability, right? We can't hold them accountable for anything, right? You can't even sue gun manufacturers, and it's like, you're suing them right now. Yeah. Right? Like, I literally would say in the video, if a gun manufacturer fucks up, say, for instance, if they have a gun that supposedly goes off on its own, you can sue them, technically. It's not an issue. But you can't sue them just because the gun was used in a crime. Right. So they're exposing they're exposing that lie in and of itself, right? Yeah. And so now what has happened is, you've got these anti-gun opportunists, you got the people who are looking for the drama, and it's just coming all together, and it's kind of gotten really fucking confusing, honestly, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually, I kind of think of it as an onion.
Okay.
Right? So you got the onion's obviously a layered thing, and there's always the anti-guns crowd is on the outside. They're trying to get through the skin of the onion, trying to get into that center part. The center part are the people like you or me, or people who are kind of inside. They've seen it. They've been there. They've probably been to a factory tour, maybe. Yeah. They kind of know how the machine works, right? And they're influencing. And they can be, that nucleus can be either someone who wants to know what's really going on, someone who actually already knows what's going on, or someone who doesn't really care what's going on, but they want to shape that next layer. They want to shape that outside of that nucleus of the onion in this case, and what's done inside of that nucleus, it actually influences what's going on outside of it. Now, as that onion goes out and those layers go out, those are layers of people that, to your point, they don't really know. They want to know, but they don't know, but they're not quite enough in the mix to know. Really, so what do? They look inward to these people that are on the internet, or people who are saying things, or maybe they don't know. They go to the Smoking Gun, or the Trace, or whatever the case may be, to look for this information. Then that starts to develop their view. And this outer layer, this layer away from the nucleus, could be a gunshot person, could be someone behind the counter, because let's face it, they know guns, but they don't know what's going on all the time. So they're going to look inward to these people, like a lot of people out there who have banned the 320 from the ranges. They are very vocal. They're looking to them. So, well, they banned the 320 after this Air Force thing. So we should definitely do that, because they're looking inward. And the further this spreads outward, that's the anti-2A groups, movements, organizations, whatever, law firms, whatever you want to call them. That's them infiltrating from the inside out. I'll just hit the mic. Inside out. So they're actually turning the gun industry in on itself. Yeah. And they're basically turning the onion rotten from the inside, instead of trying to attack it from the outside. And that's what's frustrating for me is
but
we can't see that's going on right now.
But to push back just a little bit, I will say this. I understand certain aspects of it because at the end of the day, it's like we can't leave companies to we can't leave them to the point where we absolve them of anything they ever fucking do. Right.
Agreed.
And so at the same time, you're also playing this defense where you have this outside force that's literally trying to destroy us, whether it's from the outside or trying to get it from within. Right. So I get the sheer amount of people who are kind of just like, oh, I don't even want to when you do have people who are like, I don't know, P320s on the range and so forth and so on. And in a lot of ways, you guys are essentially you're getting the result of people being not saying overly, but just being extremely cautious, right? There's that aspect of it too. Right. And it's kind of hard to prove the gun doesn't shoot on its own in a way that people won't have the porous. There's still going to be pores where people are going to be like, but I remember that one video. But then it's like, but do you know this fact? And so but you can't do that with every single person that's watched the video. Right. Right. Exactly. So it's like this kind of porous environment where it's like, you can kind of rectify it in a lot of ways. Like for instance, like the story that happened with the airman, right? And I remember when I first heard that story, my guttural reaction was like, fuck. I was like, ooh. I was like, I don't know about this one. Because I'll be honest with you, prior to that, my perspective on the P320, I've been following it. I've been paying attention to it. Yeah. I hadn't quite made it to the point where I was like, ooh, I want to kind of, but it was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna keep that top of mind. I mean, it's no secret. 365 is in my rotation of carry guns, and so I never stopped carrying it. Never thought to stop carrying it for the most part. And then I saw that story, and I was like, I might want to reconsider carrying anything P320 because I have several P320s, right? But at the same time, I also been in this. I benefit from being in this space a lot. When I time at the NRA and being able to see behind the curtain and understand how information can be blasted out there about something just on the surface level, and it takes on a whole life of its own, and then people jump on it before anybody gets any of the information or details that could completely change the context. Yeah. And so I told myself, all right, sit back. And that first video was hectic for me because I'm like, I need to be very responsible with this video, right? Because I don't even have all the information. I just have enough to do a video about it to bring it up to create awareness about it. Right. And at the same time, there was a part of me in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, something feels very, very, very. It was too convenient. Yeah. It was just too damn convenient. But I didn't say that in that first video because I didn't want my personal kind of beliefs or even bias, if you want to call them that, to come into play when I did the video. And then the second video comes out and it's like, now I'm like, I fucking told you, even though I never told him because I didn't say it. But at the same time, that's why I was always very cautionary about how I reported on it. But now, as we see here, it was the case very much. They saw an opportunity. It's no different than the motivations are different, but it's like the anti-gun side, right? They see an opportunity here to kind of usurp the industry. And make no mistake, these lawsuits are coming from them. I think they are. You can confirm or not. I know you got active lawsuits going on, so you can't say much. But I believe that they are coming. A lot of them are coming from them, and they are undermined, and they're using the chaos and the confusion to undermine the industry as a whole. Yes, I absolutely 110,000 billion% believe that because they've been trying to circumvent PLACA for eons. Right? They can't stand it. They hate PLACA because that was their only end. Legally to kind of destroy the industry. Right. And I do mean that vehemently. They want to use the legal system to destroy the industry. I've seen it with my own eyes. So
that's funny you should bring that up. So what you saw happen, what you saw unfold with the Air Force. Okay. Listen, I don't want to say we knew that it was BS, that this rumor that came out. But let's just say we did. Okay. Okay. Let's just, for rhetorical purpose, let's just say we knew. Even if we did, our statement was very clear. It was a tragedy. We made it clear that we believe the Air Force is going to get to the bottom of this. We're here to support them. Our hearts go out to the family of the airman that was killed. That was our statement. Yeah. That has been SIG's that has been SIG's approach for a long time, since this whole 320 drama started. And it's been this way. Now the people who actually see what's going on, they're living our lives. We've seen these accusations come across. We obviously our reaction is trust but verify. Okay, could you send us the firearm? Let us take a look at it, see what's going on with it. Because listen, no one wants to find a problem worse than me.
Yeah.
Please, if you think a gun just spontaneously went off, I talked to a very well-known firearms instructor who banned them. He said, I saw one spontaneously shoot. I said, I got a lot of questions about that. Yeah. I would love to see that gun. And of course it never happens. So, but we trust but verify. Let us see what's going on. And or if it's a case, let's do a little, let's see what the plaintiff's attorney's firm has to say with regards to their experts. And it continuously keeps coming back. Yeah, we can't replicate. We can't make this gun fire without a trigger pull. And we're like, oh yeah, we can't either, because it's not mechanically possible. And here's why. So we put it out there to these juries. It happens a lot. And it gets disproved a lot. But we can't go out there and go, nana, nana, boo, boo. We can't do that. That's not who we are. So we have to sit back and just go, the truth will work itself out. The truth will figure it out. The problem, though, is it has, taking that mentality, that mindset, has hurt the 320 in a way that's unprecedented in this industry. This rumor came out. This is another rumor that came out. We knew it wasn't true. Let's just say we knew it wasn't true. Yeah. Well, we knew that the gun, if the airman was killed with a firearm, we knew two things actually right when it happened. The manual safety was disengaged and the trigger was pulled. That's what we knew. But we didn't say we didn't contend it. We didn't do anything. We just waited. And when that rumor came out, hundreds of shooting ranges banned our gun. Organizations, ranges. This time it took for the Air Force to verify that this did not happen, that 1 month for this to come through and for this story to come out and for this gun to get recertified as safe, was incredibly detrimental for the 320. This is what we've had to deal with. So that's now a bunch of organizations that say, well, this just is the icing on top of the cake for all these other incidents. Well, and now people are seeing that it's not true, and they're seeing all this toothpaste trying to be shoved back in the tube, and they're stuck. They're like, well, now do we admit we were wrong? I mean, it takes a lot to do that, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to admit we were wrong because there's these other situations. That one got disproved too. The DHS didn't ban the 320. That got disproved. Yeah. Oh yeah. This report said this. Actually, it didn't. It said this. So we're still disproving all these other rumors. And I'm not saying that we can battle every single one that way. But what I am saying is people are now starting to finally figure out that, man, maybe if this guy was willing to lie and convince two other people to lie about this, maybe there's something else to it. And we, of course, we're sitting back here going, yeah, we know there is. We live this every day. You don't. Yeah. But because I wear this. Yeah. Nothing I say matters. That's why I always tell people when I go to ranges, don't listen to what I say. I work for the company. I'm a traveling salesman. Don't listen to me. Yeah. But you cannot ignore the actual data that these defense attorneys, experts have put out there. And that's what it really comes down to is people that are still on the internet saying the 320 has a problem. They're still saying, well, yeah, this gun still shoots by itself. Well, no, it doesn't. How can you dispute every single test data that's come out that says it doesn't? So it's very frustrating. And what happened with the military, it had a profound effect on the 320 and the range's abilities to use them, and police departments as well. And what's crazy is, and I tell this to rangers all the time, is do you understand two things are happening here? You're banning a firearm, which, that I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of firearms.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah. So that's unprecedented, unbelievable. You're banning a firearm because of what you've heard or what you've seen on the internet or because of this, or because of a fault. Mainly, if you're one of those 140 ranges or whatever they were, you banned it because of a lie. Because is it absolutely? It's not a coincidence that you did it the day after the Air Force news came out. Yeah. So it's not a coincidence. So you based your ban on a lie, and your ban, your police department's ban is now being used as leverage as for these defense attorneys to go, yeah, look at these agencies that have banned the 320. How could there not be a problem? They're banning the 320. They banned the 320 based on the information that was being fed by the very. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And so these ranges, these organizations, these police departments, every time they ban a gun, it's being used as leverage against them. Plus, they say, it's for liability purposes. Here's another one. It'll make you think. If you're an organization and you ban a firearm, like a defensive shooting organization, just make up one, and you ban a firearm because of the rumors or because of the smoke, the fire incident. Yeah. If that gun that you banned makes up a small percentage of accidental discharges in your sport or your organization, but other guns comprise a much larger percentage of accidental discharges in your sport, how do you not see that as a liability problem? How do you not see that as an issue where I could say, well, I couldn't help but notice you have 40% of your accidental discharges come from this type of firearm, yet it hasn't been banned.
Are you saying that's actually been the case?
I'm just saying, if it is the case, what a conundrum that organization could be in if that were the case. Because, I shoot competitively quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of unintentional discharges, a lot of ADs, I've heard of a lot of them. And they're not all 320s. In fact, a very small percentage of them are. My point is this. These organizations, these ranges have to understand that these bans they're doing they think they're doing it because they're being safe. Mm-hmm. They're making their members safe. Well, if your members, don't pull the trigger unless the gun's pointed downrange, they're going to be great. They're going to be fantastic with a 320 or 365 or 99% of other striker-fired pistols out there. But what you don't know what you're doing is you're empowering a lot of these organizations, a lot of these bad people that are trying to take our rights away by saying, yeah, look, the 320's got to be unsafe. There's ranges all over the country. There's law enforcement agencies all over the country banning it. Why even give them that ammunition? Why even give them that platform to stand on? It worries me. And obviously there's a lot of people out there who can't shoot their firearms anymore. They have 320s. They can't go to the range and shoot. There are police departments out there who carry 320s that can't go qualify because their state agency won't let them bring their duty pistol to the range and shoot it. They can't bring it to the training facility to qualify. Yeah, it's as you can see, it's very frustrating. I am I get a little upset because I'm a police officer. Or I was a police officer, and I can't imagine being in a police department where I know there's not an issue, and yet I can't take my duty gun to a range and qualify because the range thinks the gun's unsafe. Like, I carry this gun every day. It's perfectly fine. But again, there's no way to talk the way out of this. There's nothing I can say that's going to change anything. I've just been telling people in ranges, hey, this is what's really going on. Ask me about any video. Ask me about any situation, and I'll tell you the rest of the story, if you will. And that's what I'm doing.
So I'll ask you just one final question.
Okay.
And then I just want you to explain it in as simplest the terms as possible.
Okay.
Just wrap a neat, pretty bow on it.
All right.
Can the P320 fire on its own, and why not?
The P320 cannot fire without a trigger pull. It only can fire with a trigger pull. The reason is, it's simple mechanics. If you take your 320 and you take the slide off of it, okay, and you look underneath your slide, there is a striker safety lock under your slide, and it when it's in the down position, it's under spring tension. It's in that position all the time. The striker cannot go forward. It has to be pushed up for that striker to go forward. Okay. The only way that can go up is with a captive safety lever that can only move when the trigger is pulled. It cannot. It's captive. There's a trigger bar that moves back, or actually the trigger bar moves forward. When the trigger moves back, the trigger bar moves forward, and that forward movement moves that safety lever up. The only way that safety lever will go up. So the only way your striker can be deactivated is by pulling the trigger. And of course, the sear's obviously sitting on the hammer. The only way the sear can move down is by moving the trigger to the rear and releasing the sear. So the sear comes down, the striker releases, and even if it's of course, everyone talks about the sear, what they call it, tolerance stacking and that kind of thing, and and the answer there is obviously, look, even if you were to, and we have done this, if you were to file the angle off of your sear, so your sear is like this and your striker leg is like this, right? They sit at an angle. If you were to relieve that sear and just keep taking that sear angle down to eventually where that striker would slip off accidentally, which it's impossible to hold the sear in place and have it slip at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say you were able to do that. You were able to disengage that sear surface. There's still a secondary sear notch that this thing has to get past. And also there's the striker safety lock it has to get past. There's redundant safeties built into the gun that won't let it fire unless the trigger is pulled. And again, that's the mechanical explanation for it. And here's the practical explanation for it. We've dropped and rough handled a 320 and done things to it no one ever has, tens of thousands of times over the course of 10 years, and we can't make the gun fire without a trigger pull. I mean, we can put other guns through our test regimen and they don't pass. They don't. Luckily, they don't fire. I mean, those guns are drop safe. Basically, they won't function afterwards usually, but that's okay. They're safe. So yeah, from a mechanical standpoint, there's a lot of things that have to happen. The only way let me put this out there. The only way a 320 would be able to fire on its own is if spontaneously, at all the same time, either the striker leg snapped off, the sear notch broke, the secondary sear notch broke, and the striker safety lock snapped off. I don't know how it would snap off. It would have to, even if it snapped off, it'd still be in the way. All of those things would basically have to disappear.
Gotcha.
At once.
Yeah.
And again, that's a reason we've dropped tens of thousands of times, rough handled over. I think 65,000 times was a number that was given to me since 2017, and we can't make the gun discharge. And trust me, we've tried everything because again, this is another example. The drop thing theoretically should have killed us, but I think it didn't because people saw, hey, SIG took this seriously. They acted, they did something about it, they had a fix. And now, you've seen people on the internet dropping them off of Connex boxes and 15 feet in the air. 15 feet is not a typical drop standard, but hey, whatever. So SIG saw a problem, they fixed it. So when I say, when people don't understand, when I say, listen, I want to find a problem, please. Someone tells me, yeah, my gun just went off by itself. Thank God, please send it to me, please. Can I please have it? Maybe you have the 1 in a million, 1 in 4 million shot for us to finally find a problem and replicate it and do it over again. So we can engineer a fix. And because, again, we want to be able to see a problem so we can fix it, and then the world sees, oh, yeah, there was a problem here. SIG fixed it. Well, right now, the problem is the gun fires when the trigger's pulled. And that's not a problem. When are you going to recall this gun? What are we recalling? We're recalling a gun that we can only make fire when the trigger's pulled? Again, it went off in this guy's holster. Yeah, it's not impossible for a striker-fired pistol to go off in a holster. If you had one here and any light-bearing holster, I see safe over there, I bet you a lot of money I could make it fire with a key or whatever, my finger in some cases. Yeah. So it's not impossible for that to happen. It's just
so if I understand you correctly, you're saying yes, it's not impossible to make a gun go off in a holster.
Absolutely not.
As long as you pull the trigger, or is it
the trigger? The trigger has to be pulled.
Okay.
Whether it be M&P, Glock, all of them.
Whether it be okay.
I've seen some shake weight kind of videos come out in the past, but that was a weird thing, and that got recalled, I think. And aftermarket parts, I've seen not 320s, but I've seen other guns with aftermarket parts. I've seen some videos of mags getting hit and the gun going off. But that's not stock stuff. That's not a gun company who's obviously like us or like any other major firearms company out there. There's a lot of safeguards. There's a lot of testing involved. Gotcha. Obviously not maybe to our standard, but still a lot of testing that goes on. But yeah, if you have a light bearing holster of any sort, put your light on your gun, make sure it's unloaded. And I've literally sat on podcasts before with different types of holsters, different types of striker fired guns, and check it out. And my finger, I wear a size 14 ring. Yeah. If I can get these sausages in there, so like I said before, it's a system vulnerability that's not talked about, that's not even understood, because it's just, and honestly, if you'd gone back to 1995 Phil, and said, hey, can guns go off in a holster? I'm like, no, hell no, they can't. Yeah. But my gun didn't have a flashlight attachment on it. None of my guns did until, gosh, how old was I? My second law enforcement career, before they started having these little rails on the front of their guns. We just put the guns in the holsters. And we were also carrying 12, 15-pound double-action trigger pulls. So
it's crazy.
So it wasn't an issue back then. Well, this never happened back in the day. Well, there weren't striker-fired pistols that have 6-pound trigger pull with this much movement. Now every law enforcement agency in the country just about carries a striker-fired pistol of some sort. So it's not impossible. So when someone sees a gun shooting being manipulated in and out of a holster, and it's blurry video, guess what? Spoiler alert, something hit the trigger, whether it be a finger or whether it be a set of keys. I saw a guy was putting his gun in his holster, in his appendix carry holster, and shockingly, he didn't have a light attached to it. It was just his carry gun, and he put it in his appendix carry holster, bent over, the gun went off. And it turns out, it looks like his inside shirt, his internal shirt, got sunk up in the holster, and when he bent over it, pulled the trigger. That was not a SIG, by the way. So it like I said, it happens, right? It happens. It's just, if you're going to try to find it on the internet, it took me about 4 hours to find 8 stories, because to dig through all the 320 stuff on the internet, it's kind of hard to do. You got to search for it. You got to do a little research. But it was difficult. But and I think that's also a thing, is what you said is you mentioned something about 320. I think you're hearing a lot about 320 as well, because a lot of this stuff is being pushed up to the top of people's search engines, right? There's algorithms there that are...
there. You watch one P320 video, then you can get all 3 of them.
I'm telling you, man, it's scary. Wow. We actually... there are agencies out there that will talk to you about manipulation of search engines and algorithms. I mean, you're in the internet business. You probably know about it. It's terrifying.
Actually.
So,
all too well.
I mean, now I'm going to probably have Colion Noir Podcast popping up all over my feed now. But yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah. We're very frustrated. But I will say this from SIG's perspective, we value our customers' opinion, whether people want to believe it or not. We do. We never want to see anyone hurt. The Air Force thing that happened for us, a lot of people think, well, SIG must feel vindicated. No, we feel horrible. Yeah. I mean, two people lost their lives not because of our gun, but because of just the way the situation was handled. Yeah. And honestly, we'd rather, I would say this, I would rather be in a situation where I'd have to fight, an AD that happens, someone shoots a TV screen or something. Yeah. I'd rather be able to fight to show that it was actually done with a trigger pull than what happened here happened.
Gotcha.
This was awful. We never want to see that. Yeah. Our hearts go out for all the families affected, not just the 2 victims, but these guys that that's told this story. Yeah. They're going to be impacted from this too. So it stinks, and we hate to see it, but we take every single claim seriously. We don't just brush it off and say, you don't know what you're talking about. We have a customer service reps who want guns back. Now, people don't trust us. They'll have, my wife's gun went off in her holster, this and this, and we'll say, well, sir, send it back. Let us take a look at it, make sure everything's good to go. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're the guy. Maybe you're the lottery winner, maybe. Gotcha. Yeah. But they usually, what they'll do is, I don't trust SIG. I'm going to send it to my third-party armor. We don't know how they're experimenting or testing on this gun. Mm-hmm. If someone had sent their gun to a dude and he shoved a wood screw in it to hold the trigger to the rear and then did something to the slide, which you can do to any striker-fired gun, by the way, and it went off, what's he going to do? He's going to come back and say, yeah, the gun's defective. It just went off without a trigger pull. I made it happen. Well, I don't. We trust me, we have the resources to be able to make sure there's a problem. And I'm not the only person in that works in our custom shop and our engineers who want to find something or trying to find something, because if we could, we'd find a fix and we'd fix it. And SIG was like, SIG does care about their customers. They went after this and they fixed it. I mean, that whole controversy about the drop stuff, that came out, yet we still sold another 3.5 million P320s. Mm-hmm. How's that possible? Because SIG cared, SIG did something about it, and they fixed it. So for us to say, when are you going to fix a 320? It's so frustrating. It's like, well, what? I don't know what you wanted me to do. I could offer you a manual safety. Oh wait, we already do that too. So if you're that worried about it, put a manual safety on it. That's another argument unto itself. I mean, who's to say? This is when I always talk about the legal side of this, the law firm side of this. Here's what worries me. We talked about, the fact that now this argument's being made, the P320 is defective. Mm-hmm. And that's all people read in the headlines. But the real story is the P320 is ruled defective because it didn't have a tab trigger or it didn't have a manual safety. If this gets enough steam behind this argument, if this snowballs into a situation where what's to stop this same firm, once they get tired of picking on us, not literally, but when they get tired of us, or when we've just basically said, yeah, you're right, we're going to stop making the 320, it's going to stop. They're just going to move on to the 365. Or they'll go to some other gun company and say, hey, we couldn't help but notice that there were 450 accidental discharges with your firearm, and that wouldn't have happened if they'd had a manual safety on it. So if they get a Glock and say, you got to put manual safeties in your gun because your trigger pull's too light, I mean, now I'm worried about what would happen. Would they just say, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Do they have to be Gen Vs, or can they be, it's just, there's a lot of that happening. And when I think of this as like, this is a slippery slope, because if they start to dictate gun design, not the gun manufacturers, not SAMI, not all these other organizations that are supposed to do it. Mm-hmm. If it starts getting dictated by judges, juries, and fancy attorneys, what does that put us? Because what's next? It's scary.
In a very, very, very precarious situation. Yeah. And we're already there. But nonetheless, it's.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot for your viewers to see, and you're going to have viewers that are on both sides of the argument. And I'm not here to convince people that you should love SIG Sauer. It's like me trying to convince a Chevy guy to like Ford truck. It's not going to happen. But if you try to bury SIG, you are simply you're literally feeding this anti-2A machine. To your point, do I think that a gun company should be held responsible for truly defective products? Mm-hmm. If there were a firearm that could truly go off by itself and it could be proven and replicated by whether it be our experts or third-party experts or defense attorneys' experts or plaintiffs' attorneys' experts, do I think that gun company should be held liable? Well, yeah. I mean, if a gun fires without a trigger pull, that's an unsafe product. That's a problem. So I'm not sitting here trying to say that SIG's above the law. We've proven time and time again, and so has our opponents' experts. They've proven time and time again that the P320 can't fire unless the trigger is pulled. So, we're not trying to avoid responsibility. We're simply trying to say, hey, we designed a pistol that fires when the trigger's pulled. Your client's saying it didn't, and you can't prove that it didn't. We can't prove that it didn't. Yeah. So, what? We'll change the argument. Your trigger's too light. You need this. You need this thing on it. Yeah. Well, no, I don't think we do. I mean, so who knows? I mean, that's kind of the argument we're looking at here. Is if these anti-2A law firms and groups are saying and admitting that the P320 cannot fire without a trigger pull through their court testimony or through the obvious court records, then who are we arguing with here? Are you arguing with SIG? I mean, they're saying what we're saying.
Yeah, that's a very good question if you ask me.
God, I'm so frustrated. I need a drink. Do you serve booze here?
I got some upstairs.
God, wake up, people.
Nonetheless, I do genuinely, I'm glad you were willing to come on and have the conversation, because I know there are a lot of people that probably wouldn't. But like I said before, my goal with this was to give you the platform to say, hey, this is what's going on from our perspective.
I will say this. Personally, since we know each other, I was surprised you had me on, and I'm not saying that as
I had a lot of people try to talk me out of it.
I can tell you this: standing up for the truth will never always be popular. Sometimes it will be, and sometimes it won't be. Yeah, and it's gotten to the point where, and it's frustrating for me, and it's frustrating for everyone at SIG, is because we're behind the scenes, we see what's going on. It's very, very frustrating when an outlet has me on and they ask me questions, I give them answers. And I can't be lying all the time, right? Because I would say that I have a reputation of not being dishonest. I would say I've had a law enforcement background. I've been a servant of a very large shooting organization. I've put my reputation on the line to be the person who's going to go on record in court to defend the company that I work for. Yeah. And I've said out loud, as soon as I'm told, if I find out that everything I've been saying I've been being lied to, then I will publicly sign my resignation and give it to SIG, because my reputation, my word is worth more than a salary. And so it is frustrating when I see people like you have me on to be able to tell the true side of the story, and then you get ostracized for it, because I promise you are going to be.
Well, so here's the thing.
And if you couldn't tell, I did not hand any money under this table or over it. So you are going to be. That's a fact.
And I'll end it with this. The final thing that made me decide to go ahead and have this conversation was what a friend told me. And he said very explicitly, if you, as a two-way platform and channel, cannot have a gun company on a two-way gun channel platform to have a conversation about a gun, we're fucked.
He's right. Or she's right. Your friend is right.
He's actually done drag on camera before in one of my videos. So,
well, they are right.
But and once he said that, I realized, you know what, that's and I was already kind of leaning in that direction to do it.
Yeah.
But once he said it was an absolute no-brainer, and I understand what could possibly come from this, and it is what it is. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, if I, as a two-way platform, cannot platform a gun company, to have a conversation, the other side is one.
Then the other side's getting their way.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of us turning on each other. Look, I appreciate it. I think the truth is an organic thing. It's not something that it happens overnight. I think it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The problem obviously is every month that goes by, and every month that more and more Rangers organizations jump on this bandwagon. See what I did there? They keep banning this firearm. It's just, time is something we don't have. So we appreciate you giving us at least a platform to talk about what's happening. I'm sure that a lot of this will be getting used against me later from
well, we're going to clip everything out of context. So
perfect. So rearrange the words and make my statements look like something else.
And we're going to put some alcohol in your hand too.
Yes. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Let's put it right there. That way it's easy to dub in.
But I really do appreciate you coming out.
Man, my pleasure.
It truly
Good
is a
seeing
pleasure.
You again.
Absolutely. And yeah. Peter always makes. See, now I'm self-conscious because he says the way I end podcasts are terrible.
Yeah.
And he says
you don't have like a cool blurb. Defend America.
No. Defend America. Shop.MrColionNoir.com. Order yours today.
See, that's perfect.
Yeah.